What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and let me get ahead of the action and wish you a very happy new year before midweek ultimately arrives. I hope 2025 is full of joy, love, opportunity, great food, blessings for you, your friends, your family, every single person in your orbit. From my family and I to you and yours, happy new year. It is Monday, December 30th, 2024. Make sure you write 2025, by the way, when we get there. It's always a pesky little nuisance. But so just a little bit of time left in the calendar year that we cannot wait to get rid of as Dallas Cowboys fans. It has been tough. It has been miserable, but it has been particularly tough for the last, I don't know, about 20 hours at this point in time. It's almost lunchtime for me as I put together this video. It's the day after Dallas Cowboys, I was going to say win, day after Dallas Cowboys game. Got kind of used to it with the 4 out of 5 thing, but the day after a Dallas Cowboys game, which means we're here for day after thoughts. It is something that I do after every single Dallas Cowboys game where I offer thoughts, opinions, kind of takeaways after having a night to sleep on what we just saw from the Dallas Cowboys. So like I said, I do this every single week, and that means there's only one left because there's only a single Dallas Cowboys game left in this season. That game, by the way, in case you missed the news, we had available for you at Blogging the Boys and on my social channels. You can follow me, by the way, Twitter, Instagram, Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. Links for all of them are right down below. Next week, the Dallas Cowboys will host the Washington Commanders at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday, January 5th. That is the final game of the season for the Cowboys. They obviously just played at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time in Philadelphia. Marks the first time since weeks 14 and 15 of the 2022 season that the Cowboys are playing in the noon window in back-to-back games. They are generally not a team that plays at noon. They only played at noon twice all of last year. So somewhat representative of where we are today with the current Dallas Cowboys. But speaking of the current moment, the Cowboys lost 41-7 to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I have some thoughts the day after. Now, I write about this. You can check it out at bloggingtheboys.com or on my social channels. As mentioned, I make a little bit of a graphic, I was going to say graphical representation of it or presentation of it. I don't know if that's accurate. But either way, the first one's kind of weird. I understand that, but we're kind of in a weird space with the Cowboys, and I digress. But this is the article. It's not quite out yet. That's why you're getting the in the oven look. Number one for me, let me close this video so it's not playing behind me awkwardly. Blowouts in general, but certainly to division rivals, should mean something. Okay. Now I recognize that I sound pretty stupid complaining about how I don't feel anything, or you don't feel anything. I don't want to speak for you. I don't want to be presumptuous, but I didn't feel anything on Sunday when the Cowboys, they didn't just lose. They got destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles, 41-7. And in case you didn't see my immediate thoughts, the whole purpose of day after thoughts is to allow some time to think and, apply perspective. But if you want my immediate post-game reaction, the post-game show is available in our feeds. Subscribe here to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. You'll get access to those. By the way, those stream initially in the Bleacher Report app. And I'll be doing that again on Sunday, and I'll be doing that every Tuesday and Thursday starting next week, and working on trying to get them to stream live here simultaneously. So be on the lookout for that. Assuming that works, I'll be live every Tuesday and Thursday starting next week at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you miss it live, you can always catch the rewatch here. But the plan is for it to be live here next week as well. But that's a next week thing. Anyway, I was not bothered. I was not upset. I was not angry. I was not sad. I was just whatever. We were all just kind of, I think, going through the motions. It was a game the Cowboys had to play. They have one more they have to play. Last week and this coming week will both have been against playoff teams that are both division rivals for the Cowboys in Philadelphia and Washington. And that doesn't bother me. And it bothers me that it doesn't bother me, right? I mean, the Cowboys lost 41-7. Like, what? It was 41-7. And I actually didn't really even fully think about this until I was watching Heed the Call, the tremendous podcast. Shout out to Dan Hansis, Mark Sessler, and what they've been doing this season. But it wasn't until Justin Graver played, and shout out to Justin, he's a friend of mine, friend of Blogging the Boys. It wasn't until he played the clip of Joe Davis narrating what was happening with AJ Brown that this all kind of fully crystallized for me, which is, again, the purpose of Day After Thoughts. But in case you somehow missed this during the game, AJ Brown caught Tanner McKee's first touchdown for the Eagles, At this point, it was already a rout. It was not a game. It was not competitive, but AJ Brown catches the touchdown. He throws the ball into the stands. It's just kind of a celebratory thing. It's later told to him that this was Tanner McKee's first touchdown. He feels really badly. He tries to get the ball back. He offers to exchange his jersey that he signs. Big Dom, because he's always around, is around and oversees this, even though we're told that Big Dom does important things during football games, but he has the time to do this during a football game. And all of that kind of made me sit back and think like this. If this had happened when things were competitive, or if the Cowboys were competitive, if the Cowboys were going to the playoffs or something like that, this would have irked me to my core. I would have been so bothered that, the Eagles were laughing and worried about, swapping a jersey with a fan while the game was going on. Like, think about how low things were for the Cowboys, that AJ Brown, Big Dom, and whoever else was involved in this whole exchange were able to devote the time, energy, and mental faculties to getting this done while the game was going on. I mean, that's the low point that the Cowboys sunk to. I also mentioned this in the postgame show, but Rico Dowdle hit 1,000 yards on the season, and good for him. I don't mean to say what I'm about to and make it sound poor about him, but Rico Dowdle hit 1,000 yards on the season in the same game that Saquon Barkley hit 2,000 yards on the season. And look, Saquon Barkley is a better running back and a better player than most people on this planet. But what bothers me about that is that that's who the Eagles want to be. Oh man, you want to rush for 1,000 yards? We want to rush for 2,000. And we're I guarantee you the Eagles are going to try to get that record next week and go after Eric Dickerson. And good for them. I love that they pushed the envelope. I'm so jealous of that. And that's really the only emotion I felt. But man, like, we should be sitting here pissed off, beyond pissed off, that the Dallas Cowboys got housed 41-7 by the hated Philadelphia Eagles. But instead we're like, I guess, there's still some leftovers from Christmas. Maybe there aren't, I don't know. But I mean, it really, it's such a depressing thing that such a game like this, such a loss like this, such a lopsided loss really has no impact on how we feel about this team. They've broken us to that place. I mentioned a little while ago that 2024 is almost fully over. This has been the worst full calendar year to follow or root for the Dallas Cowboys in my lifetime. I know that there have been bad seasons, but when you look at the totality of 2024, from the beginning of it, obviously with the playoff loss to the Packers and all the expectation and hope that went into that, and then the all-in and the offseason and the gaslighting and the fighting with radio hosts and the Netflix documentaries and the Sun, and I know the fans at the tours. I mean, it's all just been crap. And so that was my number one. Number two for me, recent efforts are nice, but they cannot be what is remembered the most. Now, I mentioned Rico Dowdle a little while ago and said no offense to him, and I mean that again here. And I mean what I'm about to say, and I wrote this in the article and also included it on my graphic because I don't want anything to be misconstrued. I am very thankful to and very grateful for the efforts that Rico Dowdle and Jalen Tolbert and Ryan Flournoy and Brock Hoffman and Amani Oruwariye and Eric Kendricks and Maris Liu-Fao. I mean, the entire Dallas Cowboys roster and coaching staff. I'm very, very, very grateful for the effort that they have offered. And we have had some fun moments, some fun times, so fun that I almost accidentally said the Dallas Cowboys won this game at the beginning of this video, right? We can understand that. We can compartmentalize that. We can put it in its proper place. But that's the thought that is the most important. That has to be put in its proper place. I don't mean to pick on Jalen Tolbert, but to use him as the example here, the Cowboys cannot fall in love with this recent form that he's caught these touchdowns in these back-to-back games and feel like they're good at that position in 2025. I commend Jalen Tolbert for the recent form. It has never been a question of effort when it's come to Jalen Tolbert. It has never been anything of the like. Jalen Tolbert fighting through the finger injury, it is very admirable. That does not change that wide receiver is a massive need for this team. And that's my thought. We do not want, I will speak for you here because I think that it is in the best interest of this team. I do not want the Cowboys to look at Rico Dowdle's 1,000 yards and say, we're good there. We don't have to address the running back position. Now, I don't want them to draft Ashton Genty. All right. I don't mean to jump to the other side of this conversation all the way to the other polar opposite here. There's a happy medium middle ground that we can find. But you get my point that the Cowboys cannot fall in love with this little run that they've had and feel like anything that they have is good. There are definitely pieces that you can build upon and you can add to the group that you're going to obviously run into 2025 with, but there is very little on this team that is non-negotiable as far as I'm concerned. And some of the non-negotiables are due to the contracts that have obviously been signed. It took forever to be signed and whatnot. That feels like water under the bridge, but the water under the bridge is kind of impacting what's above the bridge at this point in time. So the main thing is to not get distracted by this recent form and allow it to convolute and thwart your decision making moving forward. Do not be a prisoner of the moment. That is ultimately what we are begging of you, Dallas Cowboys, because you've kind of proven time after time after time again that that's kind of your specialty. Now, my third day after thought is a little bit more lighthearted because we kind of need that right now. But maybe a Brandon Aubrey 70-yard field goal is never going to happen. That's my third thought. I did want to keep it light, and some of it was because I felt like my first thought was so encompassing that it sort of just took care of everything. But in a serious way, I mean, I am being tongue-in-cheek here. I don't know about you, but when Brandon Aubrey hit the 66-yarder against the Raiders in the preseason, I think we all thought like, oh, this record's going down. Like this record is going down this season. And I think that even when Dak got hurt, we thought, man, well, they're going to have more opportunities to kick field goals, and it's certainly going to happen. And whether it's indoors or outdoors, whatever, blah, 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 it just didn't happen. I know you had the big boot in Cleveland in week 1, and that really kind of fed our idea. But maybe it's just not going to happen. And that's okay. Well, what a shock. He can't hit a 70-yarder. I mean, it just, some of this, all of it is circumstantial, right? Like, to be clear, I don't care if Brandon Aubrey ever hits a 70-yard field goal or a 66-yard field goal or whatever the case may be. He obviously attempted one from downtown on Sunday, which is, again, the launching point for this discussion. Ultimately, I brought this up tongue-in-cheek to really talk about how amazing Brandon Aubrey has been. He is one of the non-negotiables. He's had this tremendous season. He is so tremendous that the Cowboys can be like, try the 61-yarder. It's worth it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how amazing he is. So if he never, ever touches the record or a 70-yard field goal or whatever the case may be, he did get a shout out, by the way, on Sunday Night Football there at the very end after Atlanta couldn't make their, was a 56-yarder to win the game against Washington. I mean, Brandon Aubrey has turned into such a prolific weapon that the Cowboys can actually legitimately try these crazy things like a 66-yard or a 70-yard field goal, but maybe it's just never going to happen. But that's okay. You know, it's really okay. So those are my day after thoughts after the latest Dallas Cowboys loss. Like I said, there's one game left this season, so we have our usual run of content obviously coming your way in preparation of that, even though it's meaningless, even though the Commanders really have nothing to play for themselves. They can, in case you don't know, if the Commanders win this game on Sunday, they're the 5 seed. They stay the 6 seed. If they lose this game, they fall to the 7 seed. That's relative to our interest because the Eagles are the 2 seeds, so the Eagles will host the 7 seed. If the Commanders beat the Cowboys, it improves theoretically, or would serve to improve the Cowboys draft position. And Cowboys currently, at the time I'm putting this together for you, have the 13th overall pick in the draft. So maybe they get enough help and can climb up just a little bit more. But I say all that to say, Philadelphia is going to host the 7 seed, and nothing, I want to be very clear here, nothing would make the playoff loss to Green Bay at the beginning of this calendar year better. But, if Green Bay went to Philadelphia and did the same thing to them and ruined their season, and they became the second number 2 seed in NFL history to lose to a 7 seed in the playoffs because the Cowboys became the first, that would come as close as you can to making it feel better, right? That would come as close as you possibly could. So either way, we want the Eagles to lose immediately. So it'd be kind of funny if it was to the Packers, and that gave us some material to work with over the course of the offseason. So who knows? But my name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, rj.ochoa. Email is rj.ochoa@sbnation.com, or you can leave a comment down below, and I will do my very best to get to those as well. We'll have stuff coming for you throughout the week, like I said, and then, of course, Madden simulation, all the normal things for one last time. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. We're still going to have our usual run of content starting next week. It'll just be relative to other things. Obviously, the Cowboys might be in a head coaching search. Maybe they won't be. Who knows? But whatever is going to happen, I promise that we'll be able to experience it all together. Like I said, if I don't see you between now and then, a very happy New Year from my family and I to you and yours. Thank you so much for watching today or whenever you have. It means more to me than you will ever know. So thanks so much for hanging out. We will see you next time.